Hey guys, Elliot here from Lunax Studios, and today I'm going to make a quick video about some of our plans for growth and for new features in Prismata. And the reason I'm making this video is actually a user named Ben Smiley. He posted a post on Reddit that said, yo, I noticed in the Prismata game client, the number of users that it says are online, it used to be a lot higher, now it seems a bit lower, how come? And so I wanted to explain why that number is a little bit lower and a few things about what we're going to be doing with growth and new features. So one comment is actually that stat for the current number of online users. That stat has been wrong for a long time and was actually displaying incorrect numbers for a little while. There are two reasons why it was wrong. One is it used to count users who were playing our demo and weren't actually logged in. And two is that certain crashed users would remain online for eternity. So what used to happen is like, if a specific bug happened, then a user would just never get removed from the system. So we'd restart the server and the number of users online would kind of like slowly climb, and then we'd reset the server and it would drop back down and then slowly climb. And so those two things have been fixed. So the number now is more accurate than it used to be. That said, we have all of our internal stats that log individual events like users logging in or logging out or playing games or stuff like that. And so looking at those stats, we can see more details about our actual user activity. And I posted a couple of stats on Reddit, but basically the story is this. During December and January, during the Kickstarter and the month way after, there was actually a lot more activity on Prismata, for sure. And I think, so it sort of peaked right as Kickstarter ended, and then it kind of slowly dropped off as, a number of users might play for a little while and then quit, and only a small fraction of the initial users in the pipeline remain sort of long-term users. And right now we hit about 1,000 users a week, about 500 users a day, and that's just different unique users that log in at least once a day, about 500. And it's a bit steadier now than it used to be. We don't see too much erosion month over month. And we sort of have the ability to throttle this number. We can release new keys and boost the number anytime, but the effects of releasing new keys is actually pretty small. Like, we need to send out dozens and dozens of keys to get one long-term player who will continue playing Prismata for months and months. And so it's not as easy as you might think to just build up the numbers. That said, our stats are really, really good considering that Prismata is closed to the public. There's only a handful of new users entering the system because we don't release that many keys. We do small number of giveaways. And the most important thing, Prismata itself actually has no retention features at all. So there's no daily quests, there's no stuff you unlock, there's no email reminders every week to keep logging in and playing. We don't do any of that kind of stuff. And so given that we don't have those types of features, but we're still seeing a steady 1,000 users a week logging into the system, that's actually a really good sign, because those users are users who are playing Prismata because they fundamentally enjoy the game, they want to keep playing, and not because we're pushing them along with retention features. That said, we are going to add a whole bunch of retention features because they're really important to our growth. Now, of course, the alpha really isn't about growth. The alpha is there for us to build and test new features, to balance the units in the game, to see how different things we add affect our current player base, and to optimize them for performance and to make things work. But the alpha isn't about growth. December and January, well, December was different because December was when we ran our Kickstarter and we were doing growth full throttle. We hired a PR firm. I was making videos just about every day. We were releasing Reddit content, just all kinds of stuff to really try and drive growth to help out our Kickstarter. And, I've got to say, I got absolutely nothing done during December that wasn't related to promoting our Kickstarter campaign. I basically didn't have any time to work on the game at all because Kickstarter itself was a full-time job. So we can't be in growth mode perpetually because, well, we want to work on the game. And so right now during our alpha period, what we're mostly focusing on is building up the game, building up those features that will allow us to grow in the future, and then once everything's ready and optimized and really well tailored to our user base, then we can go full throttle with the growth. So let me talk a bit about some of the barriers to growth that we have to overcome before we start going full throttle. Okay, so number one, and this is the biggest one by far, is the barrier to entry for new players. Especially players before they've hit tier 6, there tends to be quite a bit of erosion. The auto matching is kind of bad for them. They have a hard time finding players their own skill level. There's sort of a gap between being able to beat the bots and being able to have a good time on ladder, where you really need another level or two of improvement before you can have a good time on ladder, because the bots aren't difficult enough, and mastering Masterbot isn't enough to really get you to a top ladder position. And we are improving the bots, but we're also going to add new features to help players lower down on the ladder. Another big problem is there's no stickiness. There's no like collectible, earnable rewards for staying in the game. So people don't feel tied to their account. They don't feel like they have to come in every day. And so of course we're adding arena rewards, but we're going to be adding all kinds of other features, so it'll feel more like your account is valuable and that you get rewarded for playing and for improving in the game. And there's sort of a filter in place in that the players who have remained in Prismata right now as long-term players, they tend to be those players who care about improving their rating, getting better at the game, just enjoying playing the game, rather than who are trying to grind rewards. And that's good in that we've been able to succeed with that core group of players, but really that core group of really try hard, want to win players, they make up a small percentage of what will actually be the whole audience for Prismata. So we need to do a bit more to help out players who aren't necessarily motivated to play the game because they want to grind their ladder ranking. And so that'll be a big struggle for us, but I think also the way in which we gain the most in terms of being able to grow the game. So what are we going to be doing? Well, first of all, arena rewards, but in addition to that, we'll probably also have like a daily quest or a daily first win bonus where you can get something for your first win of the day, just to help people who want to become more regular players get more of a reward for it. For new players, we're going to have a sort of bot ladder where they'll be able to play bots of different personalities and get rewarded for beating them. There will actually be bots on the ladder for them to play against if they don't have an opponent, and they won't necessarily be able to get up to rank 10 by playing bots, but for that first little while where you're just transitioning from kind of playing casually and playing bots to actually playing other players on the ladder, we're going to have something in there to help new players who maybe have difficulty right now finding an opponent. And we're definitely not going to allow players to like farm wins or farm all the rewards off of playing bots forever, but for a little while when they're just learning the game, players need to be able to get rewarded for playing bots and improving at playing against them. We're also, of course, going to add a new user tutorial and an onboarding quest system that teaches players about the different features in the game. You know, get a reward for playing a multiplayer game, getting a reward for watching a replay, stuff like that, to help users learn about what's available in Prismata. And of course a level up system for new users where they get to experience more content to the game, so they don't have to play with every single unit to start, but as they become more experienced, their bot games will feature additional units that they then unlock. And there'll probably be a way for players to skip past that content, but for new players, they often don't want to be exposed to everything at once. They just want to sort of unlock stuff slowly. So all that stuff will help. There's a number of other sort of more global features that we've been thinking about adding to help bring players back who maybe just want to play once a week, or want to play in events, or want to play in more casual modes. So we've been thinking about different types of events that we could do, and not just things like sit and go tournaments, but also maybe like weekly jamborees or leagues where you're sort of in a group with a bunch of players your own skill level, and you try and win your group. And there could be things like interesting themes or different like different types of game modes that feature slightly altered rule sets or things of that nature. And for a long time we've been toying with these types of ideas. Like on April 1st we put in these April Fool's units for a day, and that was sort of fun. But we've been thinking of trying to find ways to add more casual friendly modes, maybe as an extra option in casual match mode or on the ladder. Of course, casual match mode is basically something that we can turn on whenever we want and have an unranked match mode, and we're going to put that in as soon as we're ready to invite more casual players to the game. But yeah, and so stuff like that, we're basically open to ideas. We want to hear what you guys are interested in. We have our own list of ideas, and we're going to be testing some things out, and we'll see how it goes. Another question that was asked on Reddit is how come we don't have a schedule for when each feature is going to be released? And while I have a couple of answers to this, but a number of early access games, they don't put out schedules. And the reason is the following. Essentially, creative processes, and this is true in all of software engineering, but specifically it's very true in game design, and it's that these creative processes, they're hard to slap a due date on. If somebody said to me, come up with 10 new Prismata units by the end of the week, that would be a hard thing for me to really guarantee that I'd be able to meet that deadline with the type of quality that I really would want to. Because sometimes when we make new Prismata units, we have to scrap them and go back to the drawing board over and over and over again. Some units are really easy to create, but some units like Reservoir, we spent, weeks just trying different versions of Reservoir, trying to find one that really felt right until we got the one that we have right now. And that's not something you can really slap a due date on. A lot of things involving art or the look of the game or the rule sets of certain things, those things are hard to put a due date on because sometimes you get it right away and sometimes you really want to go back and iterate on the design and improve it until it feels as good as you possibly can. And for something like our arena reward system, for example, we really want to nail it and hit it out of the park before we release it and start iterating on it and start giving people skins for playing arena games. We really want to make sure the system behind it is super solid. And another thing is that priorities can change. We can be working on one feature like a single player campaign or a tutorial, but if we instead need to work on some bugs or some graphics improvements or things like that are more important, then sometimes attention gets diverted from one thing to another. And generally speaking, those decisions are good. We divert attention because it's better to be working on this other thing than it is to be working on whatever the first thing was. But if we publish due dates for things, and that limits or constrains our ability to work on what's really important rather than what we promised we would work on. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword that we want to keep the community involved and let everybody know what we're working on, but at the same time, when we make promises, it makes it harder to sort of attend to the things that need attending. And really for us, we consider it more important to make the best possible version of every feature that we put in the game rather than just meet deadlines. So we really do want to release features when they're done, when they're ready, when we're really confident in them. And sometimes in the past we have put out features that are sort of in a test state because we want to get feedback before we do the next version. And so feedback can take multiple forms. It can be, sometimes we just privately ask a few players, or we show some people what we're working on and ask them what they think. Other times we do put out the feature to the alpha and say it's not done yet, but we want to see what you guys think, or we want to gather some statistics on how you guys do. And so for the current arena mode, for example, we have all kinds of stats on like how crazy people are doing in terms of their arena runs and how often they restart their arena runs and what their performance ratings tend to be. So we have all this information, and that information is actually very useful in tuning the reward system that we're going to have. So we do put out features for a reason, but usually we stick to putting out stuff that we're confident is final or close to complete. The other thing is sometimes stuff just has to get through quality assurance before we can really release it. Like David wrote a post on Reddit saying how he made a certain screen drawing feature 7 times faster. And that was a couple of weeks ago, but it's still not live. And the reason is because, well, there are a few things we still need to fix. We have to QA everything. QA means quality assurance, and it basically means test stuff for crashes, for memory leaks. We do manual testing to make sure everything looks right, and we do discover issues. We discover issues with new graphics, like slowing the game down or taking up too much memory or causing visual bugs. And a lot of the different features interact. Like, we can't just cherry pick David's feature and say, okay, it's good to go, let's launch it, because oftentimes sort of other things relating to graphics or relating to the screen, they might be intertwined with that feature, and really everything as a whole package needs to be working and ready to go before we can deploy it. And the other thing is we do like to reduce the number of deployments in order to reduce interruptions to people playing the game and ensure there aren't too many bugs. So essentially, whenever we have a build that has a certain feature set that's ready to go and we don't feel has too many game-breaking bugs, then we'll deploy it. But we try to avoid sort of deploying often with small updates if we're not confident that those updates will work alone. So everything needs to be tested together. And so we are going to have a deployment soon, I hope. But again, sort of every time we go to test, there's sort of, oh, this little thing needs to be fixed, or this thing needs to be fixed. And it's sort of, you know, there are a bunch of nails on the floor, you hit them all down, and maybe you find a few more, but eventually all the nails are down and you can release. But it's sometimes a process that takes a bit longer, and it's not always easy to predict how long it will take to QA a build and make sure everything works. Anyways, so let's talk about skins and arena rewards. So skins are mostly ready to go. We're going to get Kickstarter supporters their skins first. And there were a couple of issues, like we put skins in the game, everything was working, and then we realized, oh, when you mouse over your opponent's skin, it like didn't show the skin, it showed the original one or something like that. And so we had to make a few fixes, and there's probably going to be a few more, but once that's all ready, it will go live. And we also created a really awesome skin browser that allows you to look at all the different skins and select which one you want to equip, and you can see the ones that you haven't unlocked yet, and you can try and see what you want your collection to be, and so on. So that's going well. It'll be out soon. Arena rewards, well, so we posted something on the blog a while ago that showed some screenshots of a preliminary version, and we said, it's almost ready, what do you guys think? And we got a lot of feedback, all kinds of different feedback. A lot of people said, I can't wait for arena rewards. This is going to be awesome. And that type of feedback was good. But we also got some feedback that said sort of, you know, maybe the mechanisms for earning them are a bit questionable. Maybe we can do better in this, that, and the other way. And we actually spent a long time just making gradual improvements to the mini game that allows you to unlock arena rewards. And I think what we have now is so much better than what we had 2 months ago or a month and a half ago, or whenever we published that blog article, that I think it's going to be worth the wait. But we are taking our time with it. It's something we consider super important because, like, one of the big ways that both we keep players in the game and we earn money that will allow us to continue developing Prismata is this reward system, the way to unlock skins and grind new content in the game. So it's really important for us to nail it. And in particular, the art for it, we want it to be something really phenomenal and special. And so we're taking extra time to sort of beautify the whole experience, make it feel really good. It's still not going to have sound yet, that will come later, but we are trying to get the art nailed as much as we can for the arena rewards experience. And so once we're really confident in it, it will go live. And I don't want to give a date, because every time I give a date, you know, you guys all get your pitchforks in the air if we slip it by a day or whatever. So it will go live when it's done. What I can do is we will try to provide some more updates, and maybe we can post some screenshots of certain things we're working on and how far along we are. In terms of the design and the programming, it's essentially done. So we could put like a bad version or a half-assed version online, but we kind of want to polish it up a little bit first. So I don't know. It's sort of like we could push it live this week, but I don't think we're going to be ready, and I don't want to publish it before we're ready because I really want it to be an outstanding, awesome feature. And it's not the kind of feature that we like desperately need to collect data on or for our users. It's more the type of feature where, you know, we just want to do a good job and then have it out there. So I apologize that it's taking longer than I originally thought it would, but I think you guys will all be happy with the results. And again, it's an alpha, so thank you all for your patience during the alpha as we bring out new stuff. As usual, if you have any feedback, please let me know. You know, if you're really angry about this, let me know too, because a lot of the times there's people who are sort of sitting in the background and they're looking at what we're doing and they think, oh, I'm kind of worried Prismata's maybe not doing that well, or maybe they think we're actually doing great. And you know, it's sometimes hard to get that type of feedback. So if you think we're doing an awful job and we should be way more forthright with the community and we should post weekly dev diaries and stuff like that, let me know. If you think we should just get to work and stop worrying about all of the haters and naysayers, let me know that too. Yeah, any feedback is wonderful and helpful for us, and I do read just about everything that's posted on the Prismata subreddit or in the comments for the YouTube videos. Anything that you can tell us is very helpful. So that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Take care.